Hi, Shata.
Awesome. So I'd like to now invite Sheta to take us with what exciting things are lined up for all our participants, and also what is the surprise launch that we're looking forward to. So over to you, Sheta.
Thank you so much, Ria, and thank you so much to our panelists today and everyone who is here on the webinar to take time out on Sunday to join. Really excited. Today is a very important day. It's October 18th. It's World Menopause Day. And days like these give us a moment to just remember and talk about some topics that we sometimes ignore. If you consider India, for example, there are 130 crore is the population of India. 49% of those is women. That makes up 60 crores, out of which 20% women are in the age group 40 to 60. That comes out to be 10 crore women. 10 crore women every year are going through menopause. And if you look at what is out there for her in terms of solutions, in terms of advice, in terms of how to deal with it, nothing exists. So I'm very proud and very excited to be here with the panel today to discuss their viewpoints. We touch very important topics around what happens in the female body, how do we drive conversation, how do we break taboos, and how does food play a role with a healthy lifestyle to navigate menopause. We'll be unveiling a great product as well. So without further ado, the first thing I would like to ask all the panelists is what does menopause mean to you? And why do you think that in the year 2020, we are still not talking about this big thing which affects up to 30% to 50% of a woman's life? I'm going to start with Gautami, you. Uh, what does menopause mean to you, and why are we still not talking about it?
Well, we mostly never talk about women's health, whether it's in this country or whether it's worldwide. Women's health is, I think, given the least amount of importance. And menopause, I think, it doesn't even cross people's minds, unfortunately. What does menopause mean to me? The thing I've heard is that when a woman hits menopause, she becomes old or she's sexually inactive and she's least interesting. And yeah, that's what I've heard. And that's the myth around menopause. I've only heard this while from a lot of my friends' husbands, a lot of the men around me. That's what I've heard, that Arey, abhi uski umr ho gayi hai. So that's what menopause used to mean to me, till of course I've read up on it, and I think otherwise. Yeah, but that's the general perception.
So true, so true. I mean, with men, somehow the association is they'll become old later. But for women, as soon as she starts showing the symptoms, it's in the old category.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Anuya, would love to know your thoughts on it.
Well, I think when it comes to menopause, the idea is that, your biological clock is ticking, and menopause usually represents, your end of reproductive age, and patriarchal attitudes look at you as something, as essentially a human walking incubator. So menopause obviously becomes so, invisible when it comes to health spectrum in general or in any other conversations as well. And if talking about what menopause means to me, I would say that, I'm 24 right now. And if I would tell someone that I have experienced menopause, they would never believe me. And I was in chemically induced menopause for a very long time. And I think we kind of need to understand that menopause is not just about, reaching a certain age. It can also be induced because of cancer treatments. It can be induced because of PMDD. It can be induced for various reasons, even including reproductive disorders such as endometriosis and fibroids. That's why the lack of these conversations around women's health in general, including menstrual, premenstrual, reproductive, and endocrine disorders, push away menopause into some sort of invisible layer. And I think it's about time we talk about it and change it.
Because menopause is also one of the most important milestones in a woman's life. It is one of the most important milestones, and somehow is just always disregarded or looked down upon for some strange reason. I don't know what the reason is. Maybe you'll be able to clear the the air around it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so true. Varalakshmi.
Yes. So I think so. What menopause mean to me is from an Ayurvedic perspective, because I studied Ayurveda and practiced it for such a long time. Ayurveda says that menopause, or in general, menopause is a natural physiology, just like how we have like menstruation or pregnancy. It is another stage of women's reproductive life in a way. It's true that we will not have like estrogen and all the hormonal, passion or whatever pitta energy that we call in Ayurveda is like we are entering into vata stage of our life, where we need to find a nourishing and then grounding things in our life to do. And that is what Ayurveda encourages actually to women to transition into. That's the best way we can transition into menopause. And coming about talking about the taboos and why we don't talk, I think like Anuhya was saying, and also Gautami, that we don't talk about all the other things in our life as well, like except for the pregnancy, where women are praised, and it is the only period of women's reproductive life where you get enough attention or enough support from family, peer groups, everybody. But when it comes to menstruation, we are now talking a little bit, so we have to talk about it. And that's why I love that you are doing this webinar today on World Menopause Day. And I would like to know what all the other panelists have to say as well. And we have to break this taboo. Even in UK, a country where like it is so developed and everything you think, but hardly women understand that they are actually going through menopause. So it's so sad that you are going through a physiology in your life, like a physical stage of from pitta to vata stage, but you can't find any information out there, or when you go to a original doctor or GP, they hardly know anything, like they are like clueless. So I think, yeah, this is such a great discussion, and I would love to know what others have to say as well.
Cool. So let's go to a doctor, Dr. Tanaya. Your thoughts on it? I mean, you of course know the topic from a scientific perspective, but for a general public, what does menopause mean, and why such taboo around talking?
Start with the taboo angle of it and then touch on what menopause is. With the taboo angle, I always say that the less we talk about certain things, the more there are going to be myths around it. We don't talk about periods, so many myths about periods. It's the same line of thought. Menopause is the end of your periods. Menopause is the way your body changes, your hormones change, your body changes. It's just a step in a menstruator's life that we need to talk about. The same way as, if the US government starts addressing what's at the Area 51, all the alien myths will die. We need to start talking about it. We need to address it, and we need to make it simplified. People become so scared. They think menopause is an illness. It's a disease. It's just
a mental disorder. Yeah.
Oh gosh, so much. So many times I hear, oh, she's become very aggressive. She's going through menopause. It's, we have to stop treating menstruators who are, transitioning through, like Dr. Varalakshmi said, who are transitioning through their stage of menopause. We have to stop treating them like monsters. They're just people who have had a change in their lives, and let's talk about that change. And that's exactly what menopause is.
Nice. So maybe I'll just actually start with you on, I think before we start the conversation, as you said, we need to understand what happens very simply in a female body as she goes through menopause. And then I'll dig deeper with you on, some of the other health challenges that comes in. But, would love to just get, if everyone could understand, what really happens and why do some of those symptoms come in from you?
Okay, so before I explain the topic, I do want to give my approach to it, which is that I will simplify things down to the very basic level. So this is not going to be a very technical discussion. We'll just understand why your body changes and what are these changes leading to. So basically what happens is we've got two little kitchens in our body. These kitchens are our ovaries. These kitchens make eggs. When your egg doesn't fertilize, you have a period. And eventually, once, your potential for fertilizing that egg, basically your potential for cooking that omelet in your body goes away, you start transitioning into something that's called menopause. Menopause is the end of your reproductive phase of life. It's the time when, of course, you're not making your little omelets anymore. So you're not having your periods anymore. And because when we, if you think about it, when you're making omelets in the kitchen, you're going to also cut up, I don't know, what do we like to put in omelets? We like to put mirchi. So you're also going to cut mirchi. If you don't have the mirchi in your life anymore, which is an obvious thing that's going to go in your omelet, think of this as your hormones. If your hormones are not being produced in the same way, all the effects you've had from these hormones for all of this time is going to go away. So estrogen is usually related to all, your nice supple skin, no pigmentation, healthy vagina. All of this starts going away. So think of dryness. Dryness is going to be all over your body. Dryness is going to be in your vagina. The way, if you have a drier genital tract, you're going to more likely be able to have UTIs. You're going to have, your skin becomes less tough.
Lubricated.
Tough is the wrong word. Less healthy, less supple. So if it becomes less supple, your vaginal wall becomes very, very fragile. Little injuries can lead to bleeds. And eventually, because of dryness, if you leave anything dry for too long, it sticks. And this is what happens. The vaginal walls start sticking to each other. There is a lot of atrophy, what we call in medicine. And this is the main changes that happen in your sort of vaginal area. Aside from this, the pelvic floor, this is basically the basket in which your pelvic organs are hanging. So your uterus, the basket, the bladder, the basket in which it hangs, let's say the fabric of that basket becomes loose, and it starts becoming a little bit more lax. So the bladder, the vagina, the uterus, they all start sort of falling down a little bit because estrogen and progesterone, the mirchi that we were making our omelets with, that mirchi starts going away from our life. And these are the sort of effects that happen mainly with menopause with regards to our genital and pelvic area. And eventually we'll touch on, the other side, the other effects of menopause as well.
Yeah, so talk more. I think this is super interesting. One more thing that I've heard from a lot of women is hot flashes. They feel extreme heat. They can't sleep at night. Where does that come from? How does that happen? My brain connecting with my estrogen.
So
or my system connecting with estrogen.
The basic thing is, we call this as vasomotor changes, which means that, the way your nervous system behaves and the way your vascular, which is your blood vessels, the way they behave, it changes. And with the withdrawal of these hormones, your vessels start suddenly, normally your vessels are like alert. If you think of army, they're always like alert, then always taut, they're always tense and tight. And that's how you maintain a good blood pressure. But with menopause, what happens is they kind of go at standard ease. And they suddenly sort of start dilating all the time. And this happens very intensely around the face area. So what this causes is suddenly there's a rush of blood to your face. What happens when you blush? Yeah, you're constantly blushing through your menopause because there's a rush of blood to the face, there's a rush of blood to the surface of your skin, and this causes a lot of heat. This causes a lot of sudden changes in, how your body perceives temperature and things like that.
Wow, so super interesting. And another thing I've heard a lot is osteoporosis. Women who touch menopause not touch menopause, but a lot of our grandmoms start having pain in the end. Most people associate it with, oh, she used to work a lot, so now the pain is happening in the body, and her bones are getting weak. So can you just talk us through the role of calcium and how does that suddenly build up around menopause?
Actually, quite interestingly, a lot of people do think that, she's getting old, inka calcium kam ho gaya hoga, isliye haddi mein dard ho raha hai. I live in UP, so I get to hear very interesting explanations of things. घुटना पिराई रहा है क्योंकि calcium कम हो गया है. Which, yes, the way your body binds to calcium, the way your body interacts with calcium changes, but also the hormones have an effect on just how the minerals deposit in your body. So normally what these hormones do is they cling tightly to all the minerals in your body, and suddenly these hormones are gone, so these minerals you let them loose, and that's why the minerals that are normally deposited in your bones that make them strong and healthy, they start falling into your blood, they start just moving out of the bone. This causes bone weakness, and eventually if you're supporting weight on very, very sort of weak structure, which is very, very weak bones, if you're supporting weight on it, it can eventually cause inflammation, where arthritis comes in, which is very, very common. So not just weakness, but also pain in the joints. The main effect of menopause is that it makes your bones weaker, And an effect of this weakness is that eventually there comes pain from the inflammation.
Wow. Wow. So
I'm blessed to be a
lots
woman. I love it. You know, there's so many things a woman has to go through, right from the time she's born to menstruation to, you know, reproduction to, I mean, wow, this is phenomenal. We should,
just when
you
you
know, give
think your
ourselves a
periods
tap
are
on the
over.
back. Yeah.
Oh my God. You know, and Tanaya, we were talking last time, and you said, you know, risk of heart disease increases, risk of dysmenorrhea, memory loss increases. Can you just talk us about those things as well during menopause? How does that happen?
Okay, so the risk of dysmenorrhea doesn't increase because dysmenorrhea is painful periods, and with
sorry.
menopause you start losing your periods. So basically, we don't quite understand why there is an increased risk of heart disease, but there have been very good statistical comparisons where they see that before menopause, menstruators get less heart disease, less hypertensive problems, what we in medicine call cardiovascular events. This is significantly less. Menopause hits, give it 5 years, same rate of heart disease, same rate of hypertension, same rate of heart attacks for men of the same age. So there is a significant impact on how, like I mentioned, with the vasomotor symptoms as well, with the flushing and all of that, the way your blood vessels behave, the way your heart behaves. Now, we don't exactly know if this is because of estrogen or progesterone or a combination of both of these things. But what the current data is most like that, it's estrogen. So a lot of people also go on something called HRT for
HRT,
menopause. Can help. Yeah, and there are other symptoms as well. Starting from the top, like the most irritating is that you can get a lot of pigmentation on your face suddenly with menopause, and this is not pigment. Like for all the other things, there are things you can do. With pigmentation, you just have to live with it. There's nothing you can do for it. So there's bone changes, there's face changes, there is, you're constantly blushing, you're not sleeping as well, you're having memory loss, like Shweta mentioned. The way every organ in your body behaves changes, and this can be very dramatic for some people, or it can be a very easy transition for some people. So it depends from person to person, but it's basically like an all-out attack on your body suddenly, and it can be a nuclear bomb dropping on your body, or it can be a couple of misfired bullets here and there.
Yeah, no, totally. And the most baffling thing I've heard is how in pregnancy, it's 9 months, for every trimester, you know what is going to happen to me. And there are books written on it, there's enough and more literature. Menopause that happens for 20 years of someone's life, happens to 50% of the population. There is still, like, now companies are starting to track the symptoms, what happens in the first 10 years after that. Because if you look at the literature right now, all the blogs, similar symptoms, range of symptoms, that can just scare everyone. I mean, as you were talking, like, I know all of us are a little scared that these things are going to happen to us. Yes, we learn how to manage it, but these changes and are, they're life changing. They could shatter my confidence at so many levels, given that all of us have a life outside. So it's amazing that
there's one reason why it hasn't been studied so well, aside from the taboo factor. Definitely the taboo factor is a huge thing, but before that, a couple of years ago, we didn't experience menopause the same way because periods weren't the same way. A lot of people were pregnant for most of their life. The minute they start resuming a period, they have a sexual life back, and then they get pregnant again. So the way we experienced periods was different, and the way we experienced menopause was different. It was only in the 70s that the birth control pill became widely available. So it's hardly been 50 years that we've changed in how much we menstruate, and we've changed in how much we menopause. So it is an extremely under-researched area, but with initiatives like this, I hope it changes.
No, but I think now with the onset of menopause being earlier, I mean, I know everybody says it's 40 to 60 or 45 to 60, but I know women friends who've had who've been premenopausal right at the age of 35, and they've hit menopause at 38. So I think because the onset of diseases and stuff like this is far more earlier. So I think now people are coming together and starting research and writing about it and, creating awareness.
There's also a very interesting statistic that normally in India, the age of menopause is 45. 45, yes. Across the world, in the UK, it's 53. In India, it's 45. And then you throw in this little bomb that, smoking pushes up your age of menopause earlier by 2 years. And this is not something that, female smokers are ever told. They're told, oh, your eggs are going to go bad. Your eggs are going to go bad. Your skin's going to go bad. What about menopause? You're going to experience 2 more years of menopause. Nobody tells you that.
Yeah, that's so true. Gautami, you mentioned about your friend, a close friend of yours who experienced
Yes.
menopause at 35. Would just
Yes.
love to hear, her journey, how she experienced it, and how she interacted with you, and how did she share those things?
So initially she didn't know what was happening because her period became very irregular and she was wondering what's going on, and she thought she's pregnant, so she used to take pregnancy tests several times, and she went through a lot of, because at 35 you don't know that you're going to hit menopause, right? It's so.
Yeah.
And she used to call and she used to, I think I'm pregnant, my period is delayed, and then it started becoming irregular. And finally when she went to the gynecologist, the gynecologist told her and explained to her that, listen, this is premenopausal because you're having a lot of other symptoms, and maybe in the next, say, 3 years or so, or 4 years, you will probably hit menopause. So it was like she was devastated. She was completely shattered because at 38 to, like I said, the minute you hit menopause, people think you're sexually inactive. It just goes with that you're sexually inactive. You can't have sex. Your husband looks at you differently. And, it's just such a demotivating thing, even as a woman, that you may have everything going. So it was like we had to really sit her down and speak to her and say, it's okay. It's really okay. Things will happen. And there are other things you can look forward to. But it took her almost 2 years to come to terms with the fact that now she's menopausal. And she used to say that, oh my God, have I become so old? And what is going to happen? Am I going to get arthritis? And so she went through a lot. It was tough it was really tough to see that. But now she is, I guess, what choice do you have? You don't, you're not left with any other choice. But her family has been a good support system, and her husband also has really supported her through this journey. And I think that's very important, that the family has to regroup and come together. Even your children who are like 14, 16 years old, then I think if you involve them together, the woman needs that, extra attention, compassion, and a little bit of morale boosting. I think that really goes a long way. So that really helped her. Yes. But it was traumatic, horrible.
Oh my God. No, I think that's pretty interesting, because when a woman goes to, hits that 40, 35, 45, that's when major transitions are happening. Kids are going out of school, or kids are getting married. Depending on what range there
Yes.
is. And, your parents have become more older, and,
Correct.
they want to be looked after. And you talked about
Correct.
men, the person in your life closest to, and the role he plays. Can you talk about more about why his role and his involvement is so important, and in navigating through menopause?
I think men play the most important role, whether it's menstruation, pregnancy, menopause, everything. Men really play the man in your life. Sorry?
Can you mute it? Sorry, can everyone mute their videos?
Yeah, I think, is everybody
Sorry,
on mute?
Gautami.
Because no problem. So men really play the most important role. You have to educate your son. If you have a son, you have to educate your son at home when your daughter is going through a period and what a period is. And that's very important, because tomorrow when he has a girlfriend or a wife, he learns to respect her feelings and what she is going through. Because men can never really understand what it is and what your body goes through, what your mind goes through. So if we educate the men right from a young age, it goes a long way. Really, it goes a long way, and they can form the real backbone and an excellent support system for the woman who's going through so much. It's very important. Shita, can't hear you. You're on mute.
You asked me to go to the comment on mute. Last time I remember when we were talking, you talked about how when your daughter started her periods, you actually educated your son. How did that conversation go? And how did your son react? Because most of the women actually that I've spoken to, they fear, oh my God, I don't know what imagery he would have, and he'll start thinking of sex or whatever. So they defer to actually teach young boys some of these things.
I think it has really worked beautifully for us, because when my daughter is 14 now, but 2 years ago when she was going through all the symptoms of menstruation, mood swings and hyperness and irritability. So my son was 10 then, 10 years old, and they used to have massive fights at home, like that big fights. So finally, we figured that, okay, she is going through her thing, and we need to, as parents, intervene and need to explain to him rather than explaining to her, because she's the one who needs the extra care and attention. And we don't have to tell her. The general attitude is to tell the older sibling that, please just adjust. So we decided to do it the other way around. And Ram, my husband, was also involved in this, and he played a big part. So he actually steered the conversation, and he explained to our son that what period is and what a girl child or a woman goes through. And you should have seen my son. He was 10, so he was like, he didn't know what exactly, he couldn't. So we could figure that he's not really understanding the technical part of it, but overall he did understand that it's a big change for Sia, for my daughter. It's a big change for her, and he has to be her support system and all. So he became so protective and so caring towards her that it really changed his attitude. And we hope tomorrow, when he has a girlfriend at whatever age and his wife, he'll be compassionate, and he'll respect what she's going through, instead of just behaving the way he wants, as most men do. So I think it's very important to educate the men at home and make them tolerant towards what a woman goes through, because a woman does, I mean, not to sound sexist, but a woman does go through a lot. And what you need is just a hearing, somebody to hear you, and just a little bit of compassion. That's all we need. You're not asking for the moon, just a little bit of everything. That's it.
Yeah, no, I got me. That's so true. I remember at workplace, what used to happen if a woman had periods, she would not want to go to a man because she would think a man wouldn't understand, actually make fun
Yes.
of her. The man would actually think, I don't even know. I mean, man doesn't know enough. So he's just going through what he hears from his peers and family. So, and there's just so much misconception. The girl doesn't want to tell the guy feels the woman is not going through enough. If both sides understand the problem,
Absolutely.
it's just gonna work so much beautifully in having these conversations. So,
It's like when we are traveling in a car, and if somebody needs a sanitary napkin, I've so many times I've told my husband that, please, can you just stop at a chemist, I need sanitary pads. It's a very normal conversation. It's not something which is sexual or something it's very normal. It's a biological phenomena which a woman goes through. So it's very normal, and now my son is also used to it. So if he's sitting by the window or the thing, he's good to go to the chemist and ask for a sanitary napkin. He's totally okay with it. He's 12 now. So he's cool about it. There's no, that, oh my God, do I have to really, there's no cringing and no this thing. It's a matter of fact and a very okay thing to do.
So Gautami, could you help us with, if us as we go towards 35, 40, how do we have the conversations? Any tips and tricks? So you and your husband have such a beautiful relation. Any tips and tricks you have seen which have worked in educating and helping the other side see your point of view?
So I haven't hit menopause yet, but sometimes I do feel, that now, and especially when you invited me on this panel, I was, in fact, it made me think that, oh my God, is it, am I close to it? Am I going to, are these the symptoms and all? And I did have a chat with Ram, and I said, off late, I've been really moody, and I'm, anything which somebody says makes me very touchy and weepy. And are these signs of premenopause? And, how do we, so he said, just relax, we'll go to a doctor. And, he was very okay with it. But I had to voice it to him, because I said, I think I'm behaving crazy sometimes. So he said, why don't we now have a second chat with the kids, get them together, and let's have a family this thing, because we'll need a lot of tolerance to deal with it. So they're all making fun of me right now. But I think it was very easy. Like I said, it's really important to talk, and to sometimes men are just given a bad name. If you don't discuss anything with them, if you don't really share something with them, it's not fair to even categorize and say, oh, they just don't understand. But at least try, at least, share and tell them what you're going through. Maybe they'll help, and maybe they'll be there. Why not?
Yeah. No, that's true, because he's the only one who's around. When you have your first period, your mom is around. Your pregnancy,
Yes.
so many. Your mom is again around. Your husband, because he's part of it, he's around. But in menopause, you're sort of left alone, and unless and until that man is there, where does that support come from? So I
But
think
I have another point of view. I was just, when everybody was talking, all the panelists were talking, I just realized, menopause actually can be a game changer for a woman, because you finished your period, you finished your reproduction, you finished all these things, and now it's time for yourself, because there is no more of all these things. So you should look at it like, okay, I may go through all this and whatever, this is my 10-20 years for myself. I finished all my responsibilities, I finished my duties, and now it's my time. So we should change our attitude as women, and I think we should look at it like that.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So
Yeah.
true. 40s, the new 20s, 30s, whatever, but it's great.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Anuya, I would like to come to you because you, you have been at the front running of having the conversation, promoting conversation on menstruation, PMDD. In your journey, what have you learned in how to break stigmas in India? And especially when it comes to menopause, what can we learn from your journey to implement it here?
Okay, all right. I think the first thing we need to ask ourselves when we're talking about stigmatization or taboos is that, is it invisible because it's stigmatized, or is it stigmatized and that's why it's invisible? These are like completely two different things. And when it comes to menopause or menstruation, it's a bit of both. It has always remained invisible, because of which it was stigmatized. And then because it's stigmatized, it continues to be invisible. And this is like this vicious circle. So somewhere we have to break it. So I think the very first step is to first accept for yourself that, okay, I am experiencing menopause, I'm experiencing perimenopause, these are my symptoms, and I just need to come in terms with what I'm experiencing. And once you come in terms with what you're experiencing and you go away from the negative ideas that it's menopause is like end of your life, or it's something bad, or that you're an invalid, these are some ideas that usually come into head, and there's so many negative connotations attached with menopause. And once you make your peace and accept that these are something that is, these are some patriarchal notions that are being pushed on you, and menopause is something that you can truly enjoy and probably improve your quality of life through health seeking behavior. And the next step would be to talk, have conversations with your partner, with your family, with your friends. Come together and talk about it. Because once you start talking about your symptoms and once you start talking about your menopause, only then can we expect someone to hear and someone to do something about it. And especially right now, we have a lot of women in across multiple companies who are in positions of authority and in positions of power. And how can these women help with menopause? Many countries have reasonable adjustments for people experiencing menopause. So this is something that we can introduce in workplace, especially if someone's, has the authority or the power to introduce those reasonable adjustments. Now, these are some of the ways that we can actually get to talking about it, and not just talking about it, but also act on it in terms of whether reasonable adjustments in workplace, whether it is conversations at, home about how much work you can do right now, what kind of help you need, and same conversation with the doctors as well. We need to improve our health seeking behavior, and the only way to do that is go to your doctor and talk about your symptoms. And although we know that there are no menopause specialists as such in India, at least that I know of, it's an important conversation that you need to have, because there's so many symptoms associated with it, especially mental health symptoms. There's increased risk of depression, especially if somebody already experienced clinical depression in their earlier life. All of these things are some things that we need to consider. And once we start talking about it, we see that there are various layers of stigma. There is stigma about mental health, there is stigma about body image, there is stigma about the idea of beauty, the stigma about not being in a reproductive age. There are like so many layers of it, and we need to peel each of them one at a time.
Yeah. Anuya, the first thing actually you said actually hit home with me, and that's what Gautam also mentioned, that it's on us, first of all, to accept it. If we ourselves, and we do a lot of this with PCOS, what we felt is as soon as a woman gets diagnosed with PCOS, she loses faith in herself. She loses her confidence. She feels there's something wrong with me. And I feel like with menopause, a lot of women just feel there's something just happening inside that I can't do anything, and she doesn't accept it. So unless
Yeah.
and until we first accept it, know why it's happening, and know that we can actually go get through it, that's the first starting point. And then, as you said, have a conversation with your gynac, and then have a conversation with the peers around you. But the first thing a woman needs to do is accept it herself, that
Absolutely.
I am hitting 40. It's okay. It's going to be a great journey. And I know why these changes are happening. And it's nothing wrong with me. It's just me being a woman. And I'll deal with it like I did with pregnancy and other things.
Yes. I think it's there is a biological reality about it. It's menarche, menstruation, reproduction, and then menopause. It is a biological reality. There is nothing to be stigmatized about it. There is nothing to feel ashamed of. Everyone's going through the same thing. It is inevitable, and we should start embracing it and talking about it.
Yeah. So, the subtle thing that you mentioned earlier, which was around clinical and surgical menopause. I think would just love to, if you could elaborate on it and educate us on what those things are, and what happens during those situations.
Surgical menopause, in India at least, are actually a product of taboo related to menstruation. You can see a lot of newspaper articles and investigative journalism pieces where women who work in farms were forced to undergo a hysterectomy for them to continue working in farms, because nobody wants to have a menstruating women to work in their farms. That is associated with taboo and stigma associated with menstruating women touching crop, and the crop, goes bad. Now, these women were forced to undergo hysterectomies, which essentially puts them into surgical menopause. Apart from that, we also have, India has, I think, 20%, 1 in 20 people who have endometriosis, same thing with fibroids, and some of them are given hysterectomies. And again, it leads to surgical menopause. But interestingly enough, in India, the data shows that surgical menopause starts at age of 29. With Andhra Pradesh having about 10% of surgical menopause, on an average, India has 6%, which is more than any other country in the entire world. Essentially, women are given a chance to opt in for hysterectomy, saying that, come on, you've given birth, you don't need your uterus anymore, like you're done. Like, do you really want the hassle of periods? So this stigma that is associated with menstruation and periods gets turned into the stigma of menopause, and pushes more people into getting hysterectomies. And when it comes to chemical menopause, I myself experienced chemical menopause for quite a while, and that was because I had a really bad phase of PMDD, and all my first line and second line of medications were not working. So as a final um, defense, I was given chemical menopause, and it worked for a while, but the menopause effects started making other things worse, so I had to come off it. Chemical menopause is usually given for people with PMDD, sometimes people with endometriosis as well. But there is no statistical evidence to support that chemical menopause is actually a good thing, irrespective of whether it's a premenstrual disorder or a reproductive disorder. But the lack of evidence is not the one that is concerning. The concerning thing is that how pharmaceuticals are actually pushing for this chemical menopause. So there are like so many stakeholders when it comes to women's health and when it comes to menopause, and we need to understand which of these stakeholders have vested interest. That can be, it may be your doctor who is being paid off by the pharmaceutical company. So it's very important to have knowledge and to know your options when it comes to getting relief from menopause, instead of blindly taking any options that are just available out there. I mean, there are new options. There's bio identical HRT, and all of these things are available. And it's very important as an individual who's experiencing menopause to have all the information, unbiased information, and to have this right to make that choice. I think one of the things that we tend to forget is that as a patient, we have right to reject a treatment that a doctor gives us. We don't have to undergo a certain treatment. And having that, taking that power. I mean, there are so many power relations when it comes to a doctor patient interactions. So there's a little part about taking that power back when we're having these conversations with health seeking behavior, whether it's chemical menopause or it is surgical menopause.
So true. Yeah.
So this is something that we need to be aware of. Like when we talk about menopause, it's very important to include women menstruators who are experiencing chemical and surgical menopause, because they might not be 40, they might be 24 like me, they might be 27, they might be 30.
True.
So
as I think, as we're hearing, it's not just a conversation about menopausal women. It's a conversation that men, young women, young girl need to be aware of. It's not just about someone who's 40 and above. So true.
Yeah.
Dr. Varalakshmi, I will come to you now, and I think, and this is where love to get hope from you, because you've been hearing about all that happens. What role does food play in navigating menopause, and at what age do you need to start thinking about it?
So, before I go into that part, I would like to say a little bit, like how we have so much stigmas around female reproductive system when it comes to pregnancy, when it comes to not pregnancy so much, but when it comes to menstruation, and then we are talking about menopause, which is the main topic today. So the main thing that as women we need to understand is that menstruation is not a dreaded time. Like, I was hearing, like, I hear this from a lot of women I work with as well. Like, not all women who are going through menstruation will have mood swings or a painful period. Similarly, not all women going through menopause will have all these symptoms. So we have to, first of all, as women, understand that this is a very natural physiology for our body. So it all starts with basically accepting that this is another phase of our reproductive life, and menopause is the stage where, like Gautami was saying earlier, and the same concept Ayurveda says that this is the time where you have done all your responsibilities, whatever the passion and fierceness that we use at that stage of pitta in our life, we reach at that vata stage where you need to give that self care. So we need to do oil massages. We need to actually help our body to transition better, and the only way we can actually do it is to actually accept. So the acceptance is the first step for us as women to go through this, and to break any stigmas, all these taboos, whatever, all the external factors that are there. But internally, we have to accept that this is a phase that I have to face it, whether I'm ready or not. So the only way we can face it is making sure that you are mentally and physically ready. So the other thing that we need to understand is that these are all like phases of female reproductive system, and we rarely talk about even female body. Like, I rarely see women talk about saying vagina out loud, or I rarely see women talk about breasts. So even in UK, if I see a community like Asian community, they rarely talk about those things. So we have to actually start talking about these things. This is very normal thing. How saying penis out loud is so normal, this is also so normal. So we need education at every stage of women's life. And also, then comes the external factor or male partner, or your sons, your fathers, father-in-laws, all these people will come into factor, and then we need to ask for help. This is the second step that we need to do as women. We should not be saying I'm suffering, but nobody knows unless you say it out loud that you are suffering or you ask for help. So nowadays all the men are educated and are ready to give you that support, but you have to ask for help. Otherwise, nobody can actually understand what we go through in menstruation, menopause, or any stage of our life. Like, we are so happy to ask for help during pregnancy and all that stuff, but we are not ready to ask for help when it comes to menstruation. We itself think it's a like, oh, I should not it's a something secret, I need to keep it as a secret, or I need to not tell them. Maybe they have some prejudice about it. So first of all, we need to stop having all these prejudices about our health. And as women, we need to seek for help, and we need to accept that this is so normal. This is just like peeing or pooping, which is very, very normal thing. Everybody does it. So many women out there does it. So that is the main thing. I think, first of all, that as women, for us to fight against all these taboos and stigmas and everything, then only we can actually go, or then only we can make everything in our life, or make our life and life of others easier to actually go through this menopause. So coming to the food part which you asked about, so Ayurveda says that menopause is a vata state. So vata is like drying state. So your body has, like, earlier Dr. Tanaya was saying, all the dryness and everything. So all the fat and the cushion that you have earlier from having a good estrogen and progesterone in your body is not there anymore. That's why your bones will start to like make sounds like clicking sounds, and then your bones will not have enough calcium and everything. So the Ayurveda says that you have to eat nourishing food. Ojas increasing food. Ojas is like the ultimate nourishment that we get from the food. So one has to opt for healthy fats, like, including coconut oil, avocados, and also like, warm oil massages. Self-care is so important for women who are going through menopause. So if you have mothers, if you have mother-in-laws, or even you are going through menopause, then I would say self-care is the main priority that you need to do, and eat a food which is nourishing to your body. There is also other thing that women think that if they eat fat, uh, you know, after menopause, or once they're hitting menopause, then they'll start to gain more weight. And in UK and US, these countries, we have a lot of predominance of people gaining weight. I'm not saying go and eat too much fat or anything, but eat healthy fat. Include healthy fat in your diet, which is very important. And fat keeps all our tissues to have that moisture, which we are talking that we lack during menopause. So that is one important thing that we need to include. And foods which have more calcium, like, a good milk from a good source, like A2 milk, one should include that, regularly consuming that milk. And foods which are like dates and iron also, we see that in women who are going through menopause can have a deficiency of iron, and lack of nutrients or multivitamins, they will be having
Correct.
less, so like vitamin D deficiency and all these things. So it's very important to include those kind of foods which are nourishing, and also contain all the good kind of vitamins. And flax seeds, including nuts are very good source for protein, and as well as good fats. So like eating almonds, and soaked almonds, and including ghee in very small quantities, like 1 to 1.5 teaspoon in your cooking, or because ghee is known to has like very good strength to nourish our ojas as per Ayurveda. So these are all the things that we should include. And also regularly eating fresh fruits, vegetables, and lean meat like chicken, salmon, fish, and seasonal fruits. The seasonal fruits which you will find, like eating the fruits which you get in summer, and favoring the fruits and vegetables that you get in that local area. That is also very important to boost our gut health. And also it helps our body to get that nourishment, and it has prana or life force. The fruit which is fresh has that like strength to nourish all the tissues or dhatus in our body. So these are the main things. And there is shatavari, there is a very good herb which usually helps us to boost our vitality or regeneration during menopause. I keep saying menstruation. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so these are the things I would say that women should look for. And once we actually do all these things, I think it will become as normal as we going through pregnancy. And also I think we need to involve men more, like Gautami was saying. I couldn't agree more that we need the support of all the peer groups, all everybody in your family, your father, mother, everybody need to know. And we need to accept this as something as normal as like every day we going to toilet and doing that. It is so normal, right? Nobody feels shy or nobody feels shame sharing that. So as women, we need to make it as same shameless as possible to share these things.
Right.
Then one can see that, okay, yeah, this is something so normal. I know about this. I don't need to feel like she asking me for help, so I need to help. Only then that kind of support will come from other person, I believe.
That is, thank you so much, Dr. Varalakshmi, on such a detailed account and leading with self-care, nourishing yourself, taking care of yourself. Because the change is going in your body, you need to take extra care. And if you do that, your body would listen and you would be able to be more bolder, prouder, and live the best of the 40s. And when actually men would see that how much this woman is doing, I think you'll become superwomen rather than the ones that they would sometimes. So super lovely conversation with all of you. And I feel like I've learned so much around different aspects of it. Definitely, I'm taking away like moments of hope around. I'm not, I think everyone should take that. It's not, let's not be scared about menopause, but actually look forward to it because we'll experience something new and change is good. So with that, we're gonna just we at Team and me have been working. We've spoken to so many women, and we have a small video to share with all of you on what we have heard, seen, and what we are doing about it. So Ria, just on to you to connect the video.
Sure, Shweta.
If you could do anything to not go through menopause, you would. Hot flashes, night sweats,
Ria, could you say it
sleeplessness,
again? I think there's a lag.
extreme panic and anxiety.
Sure.
If you could do anything to not go through menopause, you would. Hot flashes, night sweats, sleep.
I'm so sorry. I think there's a technical error. Just give me a second.
No worries, take your time.
If you could do anything to not go through menopause, you would. Hot flashes, night sweats, sleeplessness, extreme panic and anxiety, mood swings, memory loss, brain fog, weakness in bones, hair fall, weight gain. This is menopause. It starts at 40 years of age, goes on till 60. At Antme, our mission has always been to break the taboos and build products which naturally and effectively help women deal with their unique health needs. We did it 2 years ago with the launch of India's first period ring, and then last year with the launch of India's first PCOS ring. On this occasion of World Menopause Day, the entire team of Antme could not have been more proud to launch a product for menopause that is so wholesome, so natural, so effective, and so convenient that no woman would ever have to worry about menopause. Go check it out. Do take some time out today to check in with your mom, see how she's dealing with menopause and what can you do to help her. Check in with your own self and see what you are doing to prepare your own bodies for menopause. And share this video out because menopause deserves some mind space.
Thanks, Ria.
Congratulations.
Superb, Shweta. Very effective.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to change the first part. I mean, I think it should end with if we could go through menopause, we'd all like to now. So, so this is the big reveal. We have been working on it for the last 6 months. And as I'm hearing from this group too, accepting it, preparing our own self, driving the conversation, it is what something that will take us forward in our journey to make menopause more acceptable. For some of you, I think Dr. Varalakshmi and Tanay, I think our packages are reaching to you. But Dr. Anuya and Gautami, you have the packages.
I've got mine. Yeah.
Yes, so I would love for you
Yes.
guys to open it on live. We have a lot of our consumers here and your viewers. Let's open it. Let's do the big reveal and would love your first thoughts on it.
All right.
Cheetah, I have a question though.
Yes.
Can these cookies be also consumed by men? Because men are always menopausal. All the effects women go through, they always go through.
they actually totally
So
can.
all men who are irritable and angry and have mood swings, can I just give them 2 cookies and say this is your?
It does have magnesium. It
So
would
this is
help them.
Okay, that's the box, and
I kind of already opened it, so
yeah, and yeah, wow, and those, oops, are the cookies. Wow, can't wait to try this. So how many cookies in one box?
So there are 14 cookies in one box. We recommend
Okay.
having 1 to 2 cookies a day, so it would last a week to 2 weeks.
Okay.
And we put it in individual size, so
Yes. Yes.
portion control, and you feel satisfied with one and can easily
Yes.
carry it whenever you want.
Yes. And this is all natural and all organic. I was
All
reading the
natural.
ingredients. It's all
Natural,
lovely.
absolutely nothing artificial. I'll talk about more about what goes inside.
Sure.
do they
And is it sugar free?
come
It has jaggery, but
That's
there is
fine,
no
that's fine.
there is no maltodextrin or any other
Okay.
sugar syrup.
Okay.
Does it have different flavors?
No, we started with this flavor, and
Okay.
based on people's reactions to it, we had a couple of flavors in mind. We're starting with one, and if
Okay.
then we launched a couple of more flavors.
Yeah, I was just asking because I just saw ilachi, so I thought there were like other flavors, so that's why you like named it with a particular flavor. So I'm trying to
Tastes
open
yum,
it.
yeah. It tastes yum.
Oh shit, I was on mute. So as you guys are having, I would just love to tell you the ingredients that go in. So while Lakshmi mentioned that you first need to have something very wholesome. So the cookie has absolutely no maida. The base is 3 types of millet, and kodo millet specifically is the one which actually even helps during menopause. It's rich in calcium, it's wholesome, and gives you the rich fiber. The second thing it has is these fats. Again, Dr. Lakshmi talked about. So it has 3 different kinds of seeds. It has sesame seeds, it has pumpkin seeds, and it has bits of almonds, which give you the good fat. Then it has a range of Ayurvedic herbs, including shatavari, black cohosh, ginseng, which are these are like best herbs that a woman can have, not
Yeah.
just in menstrual cycle, but also very specifically for menopause. And then it has all the essential micronutrients that you would need in the right quantity that is required for a woman during menopausal phase. So it has magnesium, it has calcium, it has iron, and you could read. So it has total of 27 ingredients. And the flavoring to enhance the taste, there is of course jaggery in it, and flavors of elaichi, so that if you have it with your cup of coffee in the morning or the snack, it definitely uplifts your day.
Great.
And the idea is that if you start having 1 cookie a day, you are giving your body that nutrition apart from everything else that you're eating, and have one less thing to worry about in your life if you have a busy lifestyle. So
Yeah.
that's the mission behind. And the reason we did cookies for all of us is because we usually do drinks. This is the first launch of cookies. Is when we think about when a woman in that age group, we all love to have tea and coffee, and if you could just have a healthy tea of coffee, is better than sometimes having a pill or additional powder that you can mix in, which sometimes people don't like. So I'm hoping Gautami, you liked it. Hoping everyone goes in, tries it, shares it with your mom, cousins,
Sure.
peers to try it out.
Sure. And this, you should continue the 1 cookie a day for like as long as you want, right? There's no.
As long as you want, yeah, as long as
Okay.
you want. And it's not like medicine, so if you miss a couple of days, it's okay.
Right.
But it has the right, it has vitamins and minerals in the right daily quantities that you would need.
Right.
So that way
Okay,
it
great.
completes your RDI.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
So Tanaya and Lakshmi, your packages are on their way. They should reach you soon in London and in Allahabad. I didn't realize the things. It took slightly longer to reach you, but it will reach you soon.
I couldn't wait to try it,
True.
Yes, looking forward to try it and getting my mom to have some.
Yes.
Any kind of special diet is required?
Sorry.
I think someone is
Any
asking a
kind of
question.
special diet is required for if we consume these cookies. Any kind of special diet is required.
No. So these are, they'll enhance your diet. So you don't have to be any additional diet. You could have your regular diet, but add these cookies to it. Of course, if you have these cookie and then have another and have your rest of the food, which is wholesome, it would give accelerated benefits to the body. But no, you can just include it and have it in the morning or the evening, whenever it's convenient for you.
Okay.
So, Shweta, since we're already taking questions,
Yes.
we've got a few questions in our chat box, and I'd love for all the panelists and you to kind of address to them.
Okay. Do you want to just say the question
Yes.
out loud and we can?
Sure. So, Nandita is asking, what is the age we can expect to get this phase? Some scare by saying early 40s. I think we've kind of addressed this already with Gautami kind of sharing her own personal experience with a very close friend. But if anybody would like to, in detail, also explain when can one expect this, would be great. I think Dr. Tanaya or Dr. Varalakshmi, because kind of a qualified. So.
You can expect your menopause anywhere after the age of 40. The average age for menopause in India is 45.65 years, which is extremely specific. But yeah, around the age of 45 is usually when it starts. It also sort of links in a lot of times people with, this is a very sort of medical way of saying it, but people with a higher socioeconomic status. So, if you're from an affluent class, you're likely to experience your menopause a little bit later, but there are lots of other factors that play in. Usually you should be prepared around the age of 40 to 45 that, okay, I'm going to be hit with this bomb very, very soon.
Okay. I hope that answers your question, Nandita. We have Sonal Tripathi on our First Mom Clubs, who also are our community partner for this webinar, asking us that is there something called as perimenopause? And if yes, what are the symptoms of the same?
Dr. Tanaya, you want to take that again?
Oh, sorry, is it just me? I thought Dr. Varalakshmi was taking this one.
Oh, so
Sorry, yes, please go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I think, the main, some of the common symptoms of perimenopause is like having irregular period, as they were sharing in the earlier cookies picture as well. I think Shweta has included them. So having irregular period, and you could experience temperature changes in your body, not like sort of exactly like hot flashes, but you could feel like, you're suddenly getting hot or suddenly getting cold. These kind of temperature changes as well, I think you could experience. And for some women, they could also experience mood swings. So these are the main things, you could experience. I think Dr. Tanaya, if you want to add anything more, please.
Fatigue, mood swings, disturbed sleep. So it's the same thing as menopause. Peri means around. So like periphery. So perimenopause is around the time of menopause, and all the symptoms of menopause, except your periods haven't completely stopped, they've just become irregular. So it's a transition essentially.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Varalakshmi, Dr. Tanaya, for answering that. We have a very personal question from Riti Shah, which is directed to Gautami. She said that, can we ask how Ram Kapoor sir felt when his wife told him about menopause? Like, people are very hesitant to talk about it because they might be like, how will men think? And also because she wants to know this because one of her really close friend is struggling to speak to her family about it, and just from the point of view of how would men think. So if you'd like to say something.
Yeah, sure. So thank you for your question. So basically, I think as women, we tend to overthink a lot. I mean, before we've addressed the issue or even discussed it with your partner or family member, we've already created the story in our head, and we have decided for ourselves how the partner is going to react. So I think we should stop doing that. If you would get sick or if you would get a fever, wouldn't you be telling people at home that you're sick? You need attention, you need some medication. So it is as simple as that. When I decided to talk about menopause to Ram, it was not any big production that I had to sit him down and everything. It was a very normal, casual conversation, because I think I also come from a medical background. My parents are doctors. So I've been brought up in a way where everything is normal. There's no there's no secret or some kind of, it's not odd to have your period or to, experience any kind of health issue. So menopause for me was also the same way. So I think make it very simple. Don't create this thing in your head. Talk about it as a matter of fact. And I think there's no need. Maybe give him literature to read. There's lots available on Google or on YouTube and things like that. So see him through the information, give him the right information, which is very important, and also hear what he has to say. He may have a point of view and he may want to, say something. And stop. I think for women, like I said, menopause is somehow associated with being less sexual. I don't know why it is like this, but that is the myth around it. So get that out of your system. It's nothing like that. I know many women who are 60 and 65 who are really sexually active and they have no problems in having sex. So get that out of your system and your head and then have the conversation. I think it'll just make things simpler and easier.
Yes, I think that kind of suffices a couple of questions that we've got in terms of
Okay.
how one can speak to the family. Should it be
Yeah.
okay to speak about this in normal household, etc.? Okay, thank you so much for that.
Pleasure,
We're just
pleasure.
going to take two more questions. I don't know, the name's not really safe, but it is asking that my mom is having hot flashes and she's not understanding how to overcome it. She's 48, so can she have the cookies now? And if yes, then since when will it be effective? So I think Shweta, that is you'd be the right person for this one.
Yeah. No, she can totally have it now. The cookies are designed for menopause, and as Dr. Tanya said, the symptoms that happen from peri to post are just the gradient of it because your estrogen level goes down. So she can start it, and I think she should start having these cookies, and it will surely help her. Now, how longer as you would see with most of the things that you would take, and and how long it takes to show in your body, it takes 2 to 3 months at least. But once you start stabilizing yourself in 2 to 3 months, then you can take regular. Then you start seeing the symptoms reduce. And for some of our products, you start seeing symptoms reduce in 15 days, but I'm not even promising that. I'm saying just start having it, include it in your diet. You would see some changes, but sometimes only body notices and you don't. Continue for 2 to 3 months. It's just one cookie, 1.5 cookie. If you really like it, have 2 cookies a day and you'll see the change. Menopause is going to go on for a long time. So I would say incorporate it.
Okay. Also, another message, another question we have is how to get rid of the weight that one puts on during menopause, the belly fat and on the breasts. Will we ever lose the weight? Counter to the question is, does menopause increase the chances of UTI? And if yes, what can be done?
So for the UTI question, actually, yes, there is an increased incidence, which is, number of times you get it. There is an increased incidence of UTI with menopause simply because your vulva area is more dry because of the lack of estrogen. And what basically does is, if there's more dryness, there's going to be more friction. If there's going to be more friction, there's going to be more tiny, small microscopic cuts. There are more microscopic cuts, more bacteria suddenly decide to go inside your bladder and have a party, which is what a UTI is. So to prevent that, the best thing you can do is you can speak to your doctor. They can give you some vaginal lubricants. So if you can keep your vulva a little bit lubricated, and this is also a problem with sex, your libido doesn't change, but sex can become painful because of the dryness. So you can just get some lubricant, which can sort of keep it a little bit more moist down there. And of course, nutritional support is extremely important. As far as the weight goes, the thing with menopause is that because you're losing your estrogen and progesterone, normally there are little buds that develop in your breast. These are called your sort of the gland part of your breast. They're always proliferating, they're always growing. Estrogen, progesterone sort of stops being produced the same way. So you've got this bigger breast and there normally this much of duct tissue. Suddenly there's only this much duct tissue. So all the remaining space that is there, in that fat starts depositing, and that's why the way the breast sort of looks also changes after menopause. That's why it can be difficult to reduce weight. So it's best to speak to a nutritionist who can help you and sort of help you target how to change that weight. Nutrition is the focus, exercise less so.
Also, sorry, if I may just add to that. Sorry, Ria. Just to add to the
No
weight
problem. Yeah.
question, just to add to the weight question, I think for all of us, man, woman, anybody, fitness and health should be one of the main things in your life, and you should make it a lifestyle. So as women, we know that there are a lot of changes our body goes through. So like we prepare our body for the phase of menopause before you hit 40, I think conscientiously we should know that if you're in your 30s, you should know that, soon in the next 10 to 15 years, it may sound a long period, like many years, but 10 years go by and suddenly you've hit menopause and you're already not in shape. So it's going to add to your weight and add to your anxiety. So instead of that, plan it, pre-plan it. You're aware that, all these things are going to happen. So be smart about it. Make exercise a part of your lifestyle, and then it's not going to be that bad or that stressful, because as it is, you're dealing with so many things, and putting on weight is oh my god, it's like the last thing. It can really cause a lot of stress for a woman.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So we have just one last question. I think Anuya, you'll be the perfect fit for this one. Can hormone therapy help to treat menopausal symptoms?
It actually depends. Some people respond well to it and some people don't. And it also depends on the dosage. Sometimes the brand also, it's essentially depends on like their individual differences, I would say. Because within the PMDD community itself, people who have, let's say, gone on chemical menopause, depending upon the intensity, I mean, the dosage, depending upon the brand, and also depending upon their previous experiences. Sometimes what happens is sometimes the HRT can actually like worsen your mental health symptoms, and you'll be ending up with worse quality of life than you were experiencing before. So it essentially becomes like a conversation that you need to have with your doctor to see which HRT and what dosage is perfect for you. And nowadays a lot of people are going to more like bioavailable um, hormone sorry bioidentical hormonal therapy, which they say is better than the synthetic hormones, but I'm not really qualified to give um, advice on it. So I would
Correct.
say speak to your doctor about it.
Okay. No worries. So thank you so much, everybody, for kind of quickly answering these questions, which we just got through our chat boxes and our Facebook comments. I think it's time that we kind of give our word of thanks and end the session, because I think it's been a great learning and a great and it's been a great insightful session to understand a product like this has never been thought of. And Shweta and the entire team of Anmi has kind of thought about and come to us with this. It's super important for us to know about something like this and a product like this existing. So thank you once again, everybody. And Shweta, if you'd like to speak any few words for
I
the
would just like
closure.
to I would just like to thank everyone. I mean, we have people here, the panelists. We have people here who joined the Zoom session. I know there's a Facebook Live going on two communities, and everyone who is here and who is here and joined the conversation, because people support, help, encourage you to do these things even more. And everyone who's there as part of these sessions is encouraging us to do even more. And especially the panelists for so candidly and sharing their experiences and sharing lives of encouragement and solutions to these topics which don't get talked about. And I know if you look out there if you search on YouTube or Google, anyone talking about menopause, it's not there. So I have amazing brave women here who have come in and shared their stories and shared what can be done. And I'm really thankful to you guys for helping take the mission of menopause conversations forward.
Thank you so much for
So
having
thank you
us.
so
And
much.
I would just like to add that self-help is the best help. So you may turn to anyone and you may want to talk to anyone, but you have to help yourself at the end of the day. And if you can do that, then half the battle is won. So have the cookies, Self-help is the best
Thank
answer.
you so much, Gautam. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
organizing this, Shweta. This has been a wonderful conversation. I'm so glad we got to speak to people from all walks of life and all experiences of menopause. And I'm sure everybody who saw this would have a better understanding and probably would be less scared of menopause now. Thank you for organizing this and for having us.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
A wonderful session. I think I learned a lot from all the other panels, and I hope, like Gautami said, women will start to ask for help and, seek help more and make menopause a normal thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Ria, for
you.
organizing
Thank you for having us.
this panel together.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody,
Have a
for
Shweta.
this
Be in
Sunday
touch. Stay
evening.
safe. Stay safe. Stay
Okay,
healthy.
we'll connect soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for all
Bye.
the
Thank you.
participants to join in as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.